All right, Davina. So we talked a little bit about defining conversions. What is conversions? And then we talked a few videos ago about how to measure that, right?
Yeah.
So once a client defines what a conversion is, how do you go about measuring it?
So I love to just work backwards. There's a lot of different sources for data related to what a client is doing on the site. That's going to be coming from Google Analytics, provided, you have had that set up properly with, Google Tag Manager and such. And then there is Google Search Console, which pulls in, visibility information regarding your site, how it's showing up in SERPs, which keywords individuals are using to reach your site, which is incredibly important for kind of predicting and leveraging existing user behavior. To go right back to the question, how am I measuring it? So depending on where the information and the data lies, if, for example, the client is coming back to us and saying, hey, we would like to rank for a specific keyword, and we all come together and make sure that's possible. That would be tracked somewhere probably in both places, but the primary place where I'd be looking for that is Google Search Console. I would be tracking the page, seeing whether or not that keyword is moving up in impressions and clicks, and kind of seeing how Google is reading that page a little differently. Yeah, so it's really just working backwards with the information that you have.
Now, for some of the people that do have Google Analytics set up, I do know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, I do know that a default event that is set up inside of Google Analytics is form submissions or form starts. And I'm wondering if, and really putting you on the spot here, but the last time that I was in there and I was looking at things, those default events for conversions were very misleading, especially once our team would come together and say, here's the few forms that we have, and we're looking at the 1,000 that the default form submission is saying versus the actual ones that we've configured, that there was a huge disparity between those two. Is that still the case, to be weary of that number from a form submission standpoint?
I don't think being wary is the right way to kind of phrase. I think it's really just, do you know the data? Do you know how to use the tool? I think Google's in a really interesting place because they have to create tools that are powerful enough for marketers to use them to, actually get in the depths. And there's so much depth. Conversely, they have to provide enough, I guess, usability and easy onboarding for the DIY site owner who is trying to, dip their toes into the analytics side. So I would say absolutely, if you're going to take the DIY approach, make sure that approach begins with understanding the data. That's going to take a lot more time than setting it up.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, understanding, because a lot of the defaults they do might be misleading by some of the names and things like that. But
Yeah.
Google does outline specific correlations to this default means this. So understanding where's that coming from, probably a good thing to start with. So let's go on the scary side here of conversions, right? So if someone is not getting the level of conversions, or let's go with more quality conversions on their site, what's one thing you would suggest they shift from an SEO perspective?
I would say KYP, know your personnel. That is a fun little basketball term I learned from Charles Barkley. Know your personnel. Who is searching on your site? You need to get an individual person, your ideal customer, from point A, which is their random lives, to point B, which is your site, hopefully converting. That means that you need to be in their head, and you need to assume that they don't know anything and they don't care. They have one thing that they care about, and you need to provide that information on your site. That is your entire SEO strategy in a nutshell. So start with your customers.
Yeah, and it's something we talk about a lot at Redtree. A lot of our clients want to talk about how great their brand is and how their brand can provide all of these solutions, but ultimately we need to think about the person that's coming to the site. What are they looking for? They're looking to solve a problem. I would also add on to that to say sometimes, and we actually just recently did an audit on a landing page, that, and landing pages are slightly different than basic content pages, but this landing page was asking for the sun and the moon and the stars. They wanted someone to download a demo and then also fill out for their guide and also talk to their representative. And like, they really were just like, hey, you're here. Here's all of the things, instead of truly understanding what a user wants, what it is that they need, and then really focusing on that one thing that they want a user to do, that actionable next step. So they weren't seeing the conversions that they were hoping for. And it was because, well, you're asking for 10 million things. A user just doesn't really know. They're looking for one answer and you're kind of giving them a watered down answer, but then you're also like, do you want to buy a car? Do you want to buy a dog for your car? Do you need windshield wipers for your car? Like you haven't even gotten the car yet, but that doesn't really matter.
Just, keeping it simple. I think a part of knowing the personnel is really understanding why do you want them or why are they on this page? How do they get to the page? What do you want them to do? And they can only do one thing. You have to recognize if you're going to a website and you are inundated with, you know, tasks and, signups and everything, you're going to not want to do anything. You're going to leave, I would leave. So just really, focusing on the user.
And I think also focusing on where the user is. I know Alyssa was talking about this. Where's the user in the buyer journey too, right? So are they in a point of they're gathering information? So when they come to this page, read this blog post, and you actually even taught me about this sort of user intent. Are they commercially driven when they're looking for a specific service or wanting to read about a guide? Probably not. They're looking for more informational and meeting them where they are, especially in the journey of the whole entire process.
Totally. Like, just for example, dog walking, because you got dogs in my head. Dog walking, if you made that your primary keyword, that is not a commercial intent, that's not a transactional intent. People, I'm not sure what's gonna come up. Probably something about a Wikipedia page, the action of walking a dog.
Mhm.
Stuff like that. That's informational. They want information. But if you added a simple services that, creates a long tail, and suddenly you have people who are probably searching for someone to walk their dog. And that's tip of the iceberg, oversimplification. But even just a small change like that and kind of being strategic with understanding how you're talking to the user is really important too.
Cool. Thank you so much, Davina. I appreciate all of your experience about conversions. Do you have anything else you want to add to before we jump off?
This is a digital age. Time and keeping things short is really important too. Don't make your web pages too long. And don't expect the sun and the moon from your SEO. They're going to do the best they can.
I love that suggestion. There are a lot of, you know, very long pages out there. And that really just, again, goes back to you're not thinking about what does the user need to see here. And it's also okay to like chunk things out into multiple different pages.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks, Davina.
Thank you.